Tech Talk session, March 25th, 2024. Amy's going to be presenting, and I forgot to turn on the recording, so I'm whipping through it now, my intro now. And I'm going to stop sharing and ask us to go to the chat. So we have some new faces or relatively less frequently seen faces, and I don't think you all know each other. And so I think it would be great to just go ahead and in the chat, put in your name, pronoun, and location, just so we can see who's here. And here comes Richard. And Richard, welcome. We are just getting started, and we're putting in the chat, we're putting our name, pronoun, our location. And then once that's done, a primary network that you're part of or that you're working with. And thank you, Sonia, for asking about the recording. I tend to forget, so it's usually Kara's role. Well, Daryl, I'm sorry your camera's not working, but I'm glad you're able to be with us. To the Burning Man community and Matt of Honor. Cool. Yeah, there's a little Mid-Atlantic cluster, isn't there? There's usually a West Coast cluster. And then if you're done with your primary network question, then what brings you here today? I can kind of guess because it's a fairly specific topic, but love to hear that. Well, Molly, I'm happy to have you continue to show up, and that's always for some reason that reason itself makes me happy. Someone just wants to stay connected. That's nice. Thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna Amy, do you want me to go? Well, I'll introduce. So for those of you who don't know Amy, she and I have worked on a client project together, and she's been working on the sense making sessions with Curtis Miller, and sort of stepping into taking on those leadership of those sessions, and is just very interested in learning everything and helping build the community. And so we recently, she and Kara and Tim and I had a little session to go through Tim's new header maker, and Amy sort of offered to share it with the rest of the community.
Yes.
So and do you want to say anything before we get started, Amy? Or did you want me to sort of set up the why? No.
I'll say just a little bit, and then yes, you set up the why while I share a link. But I was going to say I consider myself a novice, Molly, but I'm trying to learn fast. So I will show you how simple it is. That's going to be the purpose of this. And when I run into mistakes or errors, Christine and Tim will rescue me. But it is pretty simple if you just follow the steps. And that's really what I'm going to show you, because that's what I'm going to be doing in the future as well. I've got a Google Doc that has the steps, and I'm going to share that with you. You can make your own copy and edit it if you want to make some notes to it. And then I am going to walk us through, and I'm hoping I'm done with that by 10:30. And then I want to see if there's some of you that want to try to give it a go on your own. And maybe we could go into breakout rooms with one of you driving and doing it, and one of you kind of being a helper assistant and kind of following along with the instructions. So I'm hoping there's time to do both of those within the hour. So that's all I wanted to say, Christine, about what I had planned.
Great, thanks. Okay, so why do we have this header maker? Well, there's three roles that the header maker has. Like I said, we're going to talk about the first two roles of the header, functions of the header maker today. The first one is just getting your data ready to load. If you have you're just in a tier 2 account, no pre-existing data, you're not doing anything to the survey with your data, but you have a big data set. It's easy if you've got 50 names, but if you've got 100 names or 800 names, it can be really hard to make sure that you don't have any duplicates, that every row has a first name, last name, and a valid email, that there are no things that will mess up anywhere. Now, and here's the other piece. Generally, most tools don't really care too much about a bunch of things, but so sumApp has this iterative process and it's always checking everything. So the data needs to be really super clean. And then there's just a lot of characters that will either block sumApp or that will block, or that will block moving the data from sumApp into the JSON file or moving the data from the JSON file into Kumu. There's lots of little things that will mess up Kumu. And so as we run into those things, or as Tim discovers yet another little oops thing, he has this process for cleaning up the code so that it will happily go from your spreadsheet all the way into Kumu and do what we want it to do. So, and 99% of the time when someone pings Tim with a process, says, I'm having problem with loading my data set. He just runs it through his header maker and loads it. So it's almost never a real problem. It's just that the data isn't clean. And even if it looks clean to a human eye, often there's hidden characters. Things are copied. When they're copied from one source to another source to another source, there's little codes that we can't see in the interface we're looking in. So our eyeballs really don't cut it for making sure that you've got really clean data. So Amy, we'll just start with the first one and go with that, and then say the reason for the second one if we get to that point.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's basically the why. And Amy, if there's anything, go ahead. You can. I'll stop now, and if there's any more why that needs to come in, I'll interject.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. So did you get access to the instructions? Everybody's good. Okay, good. I'm gonna suggest that you have the link to the header maker. I'm going to suggest don't click and try to follow along and do it yourself. I would suggest you watch me first, and then you take a go at it. So watch me, but maybe follow along with the instructions, not try to open up the spreadsheet itself.
Say, can I just point out, there are two header makers. One that we're doing now is a simplified one, which allows you to upload members, and cleans that data so that it can go into sumApp, and it allows you to actually make the survey from questions that you put in the Google Sheet, which I find a way, particularly if it's a big survey, a much simpler way of creating the survey in sumApp. But this version does not allow you to add pre-existing data. That's another step, but this one kind of sets you up for being able to do that, and mastering this step. And then there's another one, and that one will allow you to add the pre-existing data.
Yeah. So just as a quick summary, that's right now we're working on the first function, and then the second function will be what you're referring to, and the third function, Tim.
Yeah. So everything you learn here, you need to know for the other version as well.
Okay. This is foundational. So pay attention.
All right, y'all. So these are the instructions. Kara has also gone through them with me. So I think they're pretty good step by step. But if as we go, even if y'all make notes and you want to like say, oh, Amy, we should add this, let me know so that we've got a good version for everybody. But I'm gonna just literally just walk through them. And I think that this will work well. So I'm gonna hit the link to get my copy of the header maker. And I'm gonna see if that we'll see if the it's not what I want to do. See if it'll, like my screen will change. So did it change? Do y'all see me getting access to the Google? Okay, good. So this is what it's going to look like. What you'll get along the way are some pop-ups that are like, oh, like warning, warning, like Google's warning you because Tim has made all this amazing code in the background, and it just wants you to know that that's going on. And so you will be very comfortable just proceeding with everything, because it's just letting you know that there's this code running in the back that makes it feel just a little bit uncomfortable. Google.
Can I say something here?
Mhm.
Once you've made a copy, there's no way that anything in here is tracked by me. It doesn't like, I don't know anything once you've made your own copy. So there's nothing that I can follow. It's now just completely yours. So I just want to make that explicit. There's no way I can look at anything you've done or find anything. It's completely invisible to me at that point. And if you know code, you can hit that view app script file to make sure you feel safe with it. So there's a lot back there. Okay.
So I'm just going to make a copy of this for me. Let's see which of my Google accounts it'll go to. And so this is a copy. I always myself just choose to rename it and make another copy, but this is a copy you can see up here. And
Yeah, I'm sorry, Amy, I just want to, Jim has a comment in this chat saying you don't have access to it yet. Are you saying to Amy's instruction doc?
No, I just clicked on header maker public 1.0 and it's access denied.
yeah, I'm wondering, Tim, that's where I had the same thing the first time I got it. That's when I sent you to request access. So I'm guessing if Jim, you hit, I don't know if we need to get a better link, but if you request access, I'm guessing that's going to go to Tim to give you access.
Is
Yeah,
that
I
the
did
app
this.
script or just the instructions that you're
That
getting,
is,
Jim?
Saying the spreadsheet file. He can't.
Ah, okay.
And I'll just point out, Amy asked us not to open that yet.
How could I not?
okay, know how we do, Tim.
Sorry.
Never say don't.
I would, if we're able, I would like for Amy to get to do her thing. And then and then for us to deal with the access issues after she's walked us through the process. Does that work for you, Jim? Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, and then we can focus on that as that's the issue, the next coming issue, to make sure everybody can walk through it together. Thanks.
And so when you first access it, it comes right up to the first worksheet that's a README, and it's just to do kind of what Tim said, just a little bit of a disclaimer. This is something that he has created for the community, but it is your responsibility to use it wisely and however you see best. So you've got that disclaimer. And then when we first, I'm down here with these, you see these tabs or worksheets. I'm going to go to the questions to upload tab. When you first get your own copy, you're going to hit this red button up here in the left to reset the questions to upload in the sumApp header sheet. And what this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and make everything ready for Tim's code to run in the background. But I'm going to do this for you because I want you to see there's just several little screens that'll pop up, and you just are going to kind of keep proceeding through them. And again, all of this is in the instructions for you. So I hit the red button, and it says it wants authorization to run the script file. So I'm going to say, okay. And then it wants to know what account I'm planning to use. And so I'm going to just put it in my usual account.
Amy, I'm not seeing, where it's asking?
Oh, the pop-ups aren't showing, are they?
That one,
No.
the first one did, the second one didn't.
Huh, and I don't know how to make them show up, but if you guys follow along in the document that Kara and I prepared, you've got a screenshot of all of these. Okay, so I'm now looking at one that says Google hasn't verified this app. Do y'all see that screen? Jim sees that one. Are you,
In the
yes?
instructions, right?
It's in the instructions, and are y'all seeing it on my screen share? Okay.
No.
So yeah, apologize for that, y'all. The pop-ups, I guess, just aren't coming through on the screen share. But where I am is at the top of page 2, and it says Google hasn't verified this app. And I've got a button there that we've circled for you that says advanced. So I'm going to hit that advanced button. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the next pop-up that tells it to go to Header Maker Simplified version 1.0. And again, we've circled that for you. So all of these, I'm sorry, they're not showing up on the screen. But again, you've got a screen share copy in your document. And then the final pop-up I've got to get through. I scroll to the bottom and just say allow. It just tells you some other things to consider, but we'll select allow. All right, so you got 2 pages of something that's pretty simple. Just follow the boxes, and that has now made it so that the script will run in the background. And so we're actually ready to get started with our first data set. But in case I already had some data in here, and just for good measure, we are going to hit the reset button again to make sure everything is cleared out and that I'm starting fresh. So this is what you do before you upload a data set. So I'm going to hit the red button again. We'll see if the screen, did y'all see that pop up? It says
Yes.
clear data set. Okay. Isn't it interesting how some show it, some don't? So I'm saying, yep, I want to clear my data set. So it's okay. And then it's like, are you sure you want to clear your header spreadsheet? And I'm like, yep, want to do that. So I'm going to say, okay. All right, so I am ready to begin to upload a data set. So
Now,
as
from
Tim,
the instructions, are you under the heading using the header maker?
no, if you look at page 3, it
I
says
gotcha.
uploading a list of people.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that's what we're going to do. So let's say I've got a handful of people that I want to already preload their data so that I can get them a link to sumApp so that they can begin to use the map. So this is my existing data set. And as Tim said, it's only what is considered the basic data set, which is name, emails, and then there's one other field called a segment. But if you have more data that you want to upload about individuals, that will be another training and another spreadsheet. So this is just the basic. So I've clicked on the tab at the bottom that says sumApp headers, and I want to go and get my data from my computer. It's sitting out there, and I want to upload it into this header maker. So I'm going to get my data from my computer.
No,
No, I did that one wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have to import first.
You have to import it. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Which
Sam,
is,
yeah, I'm just going to make a comment here. Do not copy and paste data into this. Google does its own set of cleaning and putting characters into a proper kind of readable character set that sometimes when you download data from the internet, and particularly if you've opened up your data in Microsoft, does a very bad job of translating data from the internet into like Excel or any so if you upload the data through Google's upload process, it will improve the data that you've gotten. So never copy and paste. Always upload it through the way Amy's going to show you.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So yeah, I skipped a step. And you see really in big red what Tim says, don't copy and paste. So I'm using the file function at the top left to import. And this file sits on my computer. And so I'm going to browse my computer and I'm going to choose what I know is my data set, which is my pre-existing data set that Tim actually set up for teaching me. So I'm just using the same data set. And I want to, can y'all see this pop up, import file pop up?
Yes.
So we don't want to, we want another worksheet within this current spreadsheet that we're using. So I'm just going to insert a new sheet. I'm not creating a spreadsheet. So you'll need to click that pop-up box and insert a new sheet and then just import the data. So if y'all can see down at the bottom, it added a new sheet.
Amy, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
It looks to me like the original data set does need to have the right columns and the right column headers. I mean, it does need to already be set up according to the template for uploading a member list. What we're doing, so we're not rearranging the headers.
No, well, so that's not entirely true. I have it set up that way, and maybe I should have set it up in a more confused manner, so like it didn't look that way. But I'm pretty sure I know the full service header maker, that's not required. I don't know if I left that functionality in this stripped down version, but so we'll see. But if you have a choice, you can easily put it in this, just move your columns around. But I guess we'll see when we go back to the sumApp header.
You just muted.
Yeah, so if Amy continues, we'll take a look and see if that's an issue or not.
Okay.
So this is the data that I had on my laptop. So this is the file that I want to upload. And so it's created a separate worksheet down here. I just renamed it new project for my own purposes. And it is just a basic data set. So these are your basic data elements that sumApp has. So this is not considered pre-existing data. That was a question that I had confusion with that. In this case, this is just our basic data set, no pre-existing data. All right, if you're still following along with me, we're now going to clean our data. This is also on page 3, so clean your data. And all right, let me make sure I'm doing the right one, Tim. Here we go. So where I want to go now is to get no, Tim, I'm confused. Get your data. This is the one I want to do. Yes. All right, so I'm in the sumApp headers tab.
So I will point out, if you hover over those, there's a little black triangle in the corner. There's a little drop down message that kind of hopefully will give you some idea of what that button does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do y'all see the pop-up? It says get the data you imported to your sheet. Okay, so it's going to pull the data from new project into this sheet where Tim has all of this code running in the back. So I hit the get your data from the data sheet, and I've got a pop-up here over on the right. And what it's asking me to do is to say, where is this data sitting? And it's sitting in something I've called new project. Y'all just saw me rename that. So
if you had more than one sheet, that would be a drop down there that you could choose the one you want from.
So hypothetically, you could have 5 projects data.
Yes.
The best approach, but you could have 5 different tabs with different project raw data, and you just pick which one you want to run for the moment. Okay.
All right, so we picked new project, we're going to submit, and now it's going to run the code in the back that's going to clean it up. So you'll see how this works. So it's moved the data. I'm going to say, okay, y'all see that pop-up box?
There you go.
Gotta be patient. Google is way slower than Excel, so it just requires some patience.
I'm gonna close my pop-up box over here. And so we've got the data that from new project now into sumApp headers. And I want to begin to run the script that's going to check everything. So we're going to validate data. So I'm going to hit the validate data button in column B. I don't know if y'all can see on mine, it says running script up at the top.
Yep.
And this pop-up box says that my first column of first names, this is what needs to happen. And so if for some reason I have a first name that's blank, there is a way to allow it to continue to be blank by putting in a hyphen. Otherwise, when it tells me it's blank, I'll just fill it in with the correct name if I've somehow missed a name. And what the script is going to do, if I do have cells that are empty, it's going to pull them all to the top. So it's really easy to fix any errors that I might have. So this is just telling me, okay, this is what you need to be ready to do. So I'm going to hit OK. And so it's the one that's blank has moved up to the top. So it can't be blank if I'm going to upload it into sumApp. And so it looks like I just needed to type in Justin's name and somehow that got left out. Type in Justin, and I'm going to get out of that box and hit validate data again. And let's see if that fixed all of my first name errors. Yes, first name column looks good. Y'all see that pop up? So I'll say okay. Now it's going to check the last name. Same kind of scenario. It'll move them up to the top. If it needs to be blank, you've got an opportunity to tell it that no, that blank was correct. So let's see if we have any errors in the second.
Can I pause this for just a moment?
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Yes.
Sonia, especially for you, so that where the thing about the blank name and the hyphen, if we're loading organizational names, and sometimes we put, half of it in the first name and half of it in the second name because we don't have a single organizational name field, but you can put them, Seth, this is relevant for you too. You can put the organizational name in either field and just put a hyphen in the opposite field. And then you won't have that. I think, Seth, I noticed last week you had some symbol there that was replacing.
Yeah, I just stuck an X in the last name for all of them.
Yeah, but if you stick hyphen in there, the X will go away. It'll just look like the name and there won't be that extra piece.
Oh, so the hyphen then won't be
Yep.
carried over into the label.
Yep. Yeah, we did that recently because of organization names in that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I fixed.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Just so if you run the header maker and fill that column with replace all the X's with hyphens, you'll be great.
Yeah, so maybe Amy could leave one of those with a hyphen instead of filling in the last name, just so we see how that works. Thank you.
So we'll see if that works. I maybe didn't see there's all these little edge cases when it comes to like paying attention to exactly what needs to happen. So we'll see if that actually gets validated or not.
Or is that in version 2?
Yeah, yes. It works. In sumApp it works. I don't know if I took care of it in this header maker here, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. All right, I'm hitting validate data, so we will see. First name is good again. So it's going through it all again. So first name is good. And it liked it. So last name is good. Now it's going to check the first email column. So email first, it doesn't have any, there are no empty cells. So that's good. Now it's going to see if I have any errors. And so again, it gives you some good instruction that they're not going to upload if there's invalid email addresses. They've got to be fixed. So let's see if there's any that I need to fix. They're going to come up to the top. And I've got 2 that I need to fix, and I've got some typos in. So this one, and Tim, if you want to talk about why they're wrong, feel free. But I'm going to fix them.
There's no email address that just has a .u, could be .uk. And then this one has a pound sign in it. Yeah. So that was the issue with those two.
So let's see now if our email addresses have been cleaned up. First column, good. I like this positive affirmation. Last column, good. No empty cells. Oh, yay. Okay, they're good now. Let's see. Anything else going to happen here?
Uh-oh.
Can you see that, Tim?
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is the part I fixed over the weekend. So it was working. The thing about code is like it works, it works, it works. It's like, why don't you work now?
Till it
So
doesn't.
anyways, what this was doing was finding all the duplicates and then moving the duplicates to the top so that you could see how you need to clean the email field. Email 1, 2, and 3, make sure there were no duplicates because you can't put duplicates into sumApp. So it looks like that's something I got to fix. Sorry about that, but that's what that was doing.
So
And
yeah.
and I can say, if you look at this, you can't say that it actually sorted it properly. You can see like Bobby Carter has 2 duplicates there, and you would either have to fix that. But anyways, I'm not sure what the problem is there. It was working last time I ran this on Friday, but it's not now. So sorry about that.
So this is just for duplicate emails, or are there duplicate entries for Bobby Carter there as well?
That's a good question.
Yep. It allows you to kind of look for that. Yeah.
So in this case, if I knew my data set, it looks like it's a duplicate email, but it's 2 different people, right? Because we're finding this just by eyeballing it, but when Tim fixes the code, it would move these up to the top so that I could correct them.
And they'd be highlighted. But what Richard is pointing to is, so in this instance, Dolores Carter and Bobby Carter used the same email, but they're 2 different people according to the first name and the last name column. Can you see that on her screen? So what we're trying to do is find, and people do that sometimes. Sometimes they'll use a single email for 3 people for some reason. Well, because they all want to get it or something like that. And when you, so this will help you find them, and then you can sort of look at the first name and last name and say, oh, I think I need to find Dolores's email, or sometimes it will be, the duplicate will be a double person, or one is an info and one is a person. So it's just, this will just help you identify, look at your data and think through what's going on here and why doesn't sumApp want to take it. So, and the reason we don't allow for duplicate emails is because then we'd have 2 nodes for a single person, and then that messes things up. And we do have a way of merging those in sumApp, but it's better to prevent them ahead of time to the degree that it's possible. And that's why there's email 2 and email 3, so that if you have someone who's given you 3 emails for one person, you can use all of them and they'll get their invitation at all 3 of their addresses.
But it's also true that sumApp, though you can have 3 different emails, if there's a duplicate somewhere in there, for instance, if Dolores had as a second email Bobby Carter, but then the first one was Dolores Carter at fake email.
Yeah.
Would sumApp have a problem with that? I mean, I do know some circumstances because I do a group that I can only have 1 email per member. So I've got to have a separate email for the other person. Do you understand what my question is?
I think I do, Richard, because when I was playing with the data, do you see this right here, email 2, poor?
Right.
Yeah. So that email is also used down here for somebody in column 1. Here we go. It's right here.
Number 9.
And it wouldn't upload to sumApp. So it wanted to see a different email. Is that not right, Tim?
Yeah, no, that would not upload. You can't, you can't have 2 emails in any of these fields that are the same.
Gotcha.
You can, so like if Bobby had two other emails, you could put it in email 2 and then in email 3, but they would have to be different emails, like one going to Yahoo, one going to Google, one going to, some other Google address.
So does this scan also check for that Porphyrino?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll fix this and put a link to the fixed version of this in sumApp when we're done.
But you'll still
Yeah.
it'll still be the same version, right? Because
It'll-
it'll be the same version and it'll just be, it'll still.
Oh yeah.
be the
Yeah.
same
So before
structure.
you make a copy of this, let me fix it, because you'll just have to make another copy after I do fix it. And I'll let you know in sumApp or in Slack, sumApp Slack, when that's done. Hopefully it'll just be like an hour or so.
All right, I'm going to hit the dismiss button. So if we had finished, we would just keep going through that opportunity to validate, and then keep fixing the errors until it comes back and says that everything is fine. And then now I have a clean data set that I need to download as a CVS file, and it will be ready to upload into sumApp. And you can either use this export as a CVS that Tim has set up, and it gives you some instructions for that. If you're familiar with Google Sheets, which I prefer, I would just be doing a download and making it as a CVS file. And then you've got your clean data set.
Before you upload that, don't you need to resolve that duplicate email for Porfirio Molina? That fake email?
Can you say that again, Seth?
There's the duplicate email of Porfirio Molina.
Yep.
Doesn't that need to be
Yeah.
resolved before you export it?
It doesn't need to be resolved before I export it, but what would happen is when I do go to import it into sumApp, it will come back as an error. It'll show me that it's an error. So you're right. It won't import that record until I fix it.
And the same with Bobby Carter.
Be the same with Bobby, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's just that record. The import itself doesn't totally fail. It's just that
That's right.
record does not. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there will be a little error message that will tell you row 15 failed. Then you can go back and figure it out.
You can discover. Yeah. So y'all, that took a little longer than I thought, because I have more I want to show you. So I don't know, we'll see if we get time to do any playing with it. And plus we want to get a new version from Tim to play with. But so that is, let me just pause and see if there's any more questions. I'm not going to go through, Seth, actually importing it into sumApp. That's really straightforward. But this is to get us as clean as possible data set into a CSV so it can be imported. Any questions on this one before I show you about the uploading sumApp questions?
I would make one last comment again, just because it's so important. Do not copy it and then paste it into like an Excel CSV file or something. Make sure you always export it.
It does say that in big red letters on her instruction.
It does.
Exactly.
It does, but I just kind of keep repeating that. Yeah.
Well, and actually, Tim, no, I haven't reinforced that. So when we now need to get it out of here as a CVS, don't cut and paste. You gotta export it, right? Okay, got it.
I have another question. Go back to that page for a second.
Yes.
Email 2, email 3, and segment are all optional.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And if we don't put those in initially, we can add at least segment later, right? I don't know if we can add email 2 and email 3 later, but.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, the
Okay.
data is optional, not the headers.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But
And then, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sonia.
I wasn't sure what the answer was, but yeah, if like I had a spreadsheet with like all kinds of other columns, would it narrow it down on its own, or you'd have to delete that before it comes in? Is that what I heard? You'd have
Yeah,
to.
on the full version one, it would give you the opportunity to delete things.
Okay.
Although I would probably delete as much as I could before I uploaded it, just because it
Gotcha.
would probably be faster if you just,
Yep.
highlight all the columns and delete them.
Yep. Thank you.
So Amy, so wait, there's one thing I want to clarify before you go into the next step. And I'll say the why also, but
Okay.
just want to make sure that everyone's clear on, has any more questions, if anyone has any more questions about this step. Okay, I'm going to trust that's a no, but if they come up, ask them. So the next step is, and I want to just clarify the distinction between, so those columns that you were just seeing, the first name, the names, the emails in the segment, those are what we call, the sumApp developers call functional fields. Those are used by sumApp to do something specifically. They're not just interesting data to put into the map, but they're actually part of the functionality of sumApp. Anything that is in your survey, the survey is, any of the other fields are the ones that you'll set up in your survey, and those are survey fields. And pre-existing data is data that's going into the survey fields. So sumApp doesn't know those questions exist yet. You would have to set them up in one way or another. And those questions in the survey don't do anything in sumApp, with one small exception if you're in tier 4, which I won't go into right now, but they're just data for your map. And so that's a distinction between the member list, the data that's on the member list that we're uploading for tiers, for all tiers, 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then there's the potential to add data into your survey that is not functional data, that is just for your map in tiers 3 and 4. And what Amy's going to do now is a thing that happens. So sometimes, let's say, there's a question that's got, 30 options, like what state do you live in? And then there's 52 states. You don't, if you're in tier 1, you're going to have to just manually input those into your survey. But if you're in tier 2, 3, or 4, there's a much quicker way than manually typing every state in, and that is to get them into Tim's header maker, get them structured in Tim's header maker, and then you can, the headers, when you load the headers, they will create the question in sumApp. Or they will find a pre-existing question that's labeled exactly the same way and add pre-existing whatever other data you have. Like if you've already gathered the states, then we're talking about pre-existing data. Right now, we're just talking about creating questions in sumApp using the header upload process, as opposed to manually inputting them in the survey. And Seth, I see you're already having a question.
No, thank you. That's helpful. My question is, so what we're looking at now is for basically adding new records into, is that right? But not pre-existing data.
No, new records will be the pre-existing data. New column headers. We're adding new column headers basically into the survey.
That's the pre-existing data.
I'm trying to make that distinction. No.
What we're looking at right now, what Amy just showed us.
Okay, what she just showed us.
What she just showed us
Yeah,
is
you're right.
basically the creation of new records.
Say that again.
And not for adding in survey data.
Now I'm going to show you adding new questions to sumApp using the spreadsheet.
Let me, so the distinction I'm trying to make here is the questions with no data in the columns are just questions. We're not loading data. We're loading the survey structure.
We're going to be doing that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
okay.
if you had, so let's say you don't have the states people live in, you don't want to load the states people live in, but you want that question in your survey, this is the quickest way to get it in. And then the third functionality that we talked about, which we'll do a separate session on, because that's a very complex set of processes, is pulling data out, or like reading your actual content. Okay, so this is just going to give you the survey questions, but it's not going to deal with content, the records for those survey questions. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm probably going to share screen back and forth a few times. We are now on middle of page 4, if you're following along with the instructions. So again, thank you, Tim. Tim set this up, so I'm just going to use what he had set up. So imagine you're doing a project with a handful of other people, and you are deciding on what your sumApp survey is going to include. And you kind of doing that on a Google Doc or a Word doc. So this is the outline of what I want to have go into sumApp. So I'm going to ask for people's email, their website. Here's a question I'm going to ask about where they're located. Are they part of an existing network? And we have another question we're going to ask at the end about their interest level. All right, so what I'm going to be doing is taking the information from this Word doc that say I've been collaborating with people on, hypothetically, and I'm going to put that into the spreadsheet we were just working on. I'll show you how that's going to work. And I'm going to also take a step that I've learned, and maybe y'all have learned, is that when I'm cutting and pasting into sumApp or other applications, Google Sheets, it's good to sometimes run it through. On my system, it's called Notepad. Just to, again, get off any extra characters or things that might be in your data. And I'm going to see, do y'all use Notepad? If my Notepad comes up. So if you have Apple, I think it's called something else. If you're on a Microsoft Word, you've got this app called Notepad, and it's going to just let me paste things, and it just makes it clean, simple text.
And
Can y'all
it's
see
just
that?
Notepad it just comes with Windows. So if you have Windows, you have it somewhere. You may have probably have never used it, but it's a very simple word processing.
One of the reasons of you doing that is it cleans out a lot of non-printing characters that you can get when you copy it from some other program. So Notepad's just kind of a really quick way of cleaning your data.
And since I'm going back and forth between programs, I'm also aware it's probably not going to shift screens. Actually, let me see if I can tell it to share a little bit differently. I'm not sure if it'll take too long for me to try to figure that out. But here's my Notepad. And I copied, probably didn't have to copy public email. I could have just typed that, but just to show you all, I'm going to paste it here. Then I'm going to copy it again before I put it into the spreadsheet. So let me go to the spreadsheet and work then there. All right, so now I'm going to the tab at the bottom that says questions to upload. And in row 2, you can see on mine, it's kind of greenish yellow. This is where I'm going to put my actual question that I'm going to want to have appear in sumApp. And so I'm going to paste that public email. And up above, I've got to tell it what kind of a question is this. And so I want to tell sumApp that this is going to be where I'm going to collect an email address. All right, so that's going to be the very first thing that shows up on my sumApp questionnaire when people go to complete their link. Let me grab, I'm going to just grab, I don't think this is going to follow completely because I don't think my screen is going to change, but I'm grabbing the one that said media profile. I'm pasting it into my Notepad just to make sure there's no weird characters. And I'm going to copy it into the spreadsheet. So are y'all seeing the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
I'm going to paste media profile. That's what my sumApp question is going to say when somebody goes to complete it. And this is going to be a URL for maybe a website. My next question is one that has a lot of data in it. So let me just show that one to you guys again. So this is where people are located. And so my question is going to read, I'm currently located in, and then people are going to use, I'm going to decide to give them a drop-down menu and they can select the country that they're located in. So let me grab my question.
Amy, do you have to worry about that extra space you put when you selected there? You had an extra.
I
space.
am pasting it into Notepad first and the space went away.
Okay.
So I always make it a habit to go into Notepad and just clean it up. Tim, but you want to answer that?
Well, no, that's a good question. And also the data, when you make the header makers, it trims everything. So if you do by accident get a leading or trailing spaces, that when you click the green button, it will clean the data yet again more thoroughly and trim anything that you might have, extra spaces that you might have gotten.
So I'm currently located in, and now I'm gonna need to tell it what kind of a question this one is. And I am going to choose select. And I think I have a little note for you in the instructions. If not, I'll go back and put it there. The select boxes is going to make a sumApp question that, you know, has a whole list with boxes and you check, 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 check your boxes. And if I hit the select, it's going to be more of a drop down menu. And so for all of these countries, I want to make it a drop down menu. So I'm flipping back and forth, y'all. Next time I do this, I'll learn a better way, but I want you to just, particularly this next one, I'm going to grab all of my countries.
You could have grabbed all that at once if you wanted to, the name and the countries.
And it would have pasted the whole?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what we saw the other day is that I just want to do like a test that maybe doesn't work. So I didn't go to Notepad this time. I just went right from my Word doc here. And it put these extra spaces, which I don't want. So that's a reason to try to hit Notepad first. So I'm going to back out those changes. I'm not going to share my screen again, but I'm going to my Notepad. It got rid of all of the spaces. I'm copying all of those countries again. And now I'm pasting and it got rid of those spaces. And so these will be the choices that my people who use their sumApp link and complete their profiles will choose from.
Can I pause this for a moment?
Yes.
I'm noticing we have 3 minutes before we need to close. And so I'm wondering if any, so I'm certain that some of you will stick around for the additional half hour because you tend to, but if there's anybody who has to leave in the next 3 minutes who has a burning topic question that we can answer in a couple minutes before you need to jump off, I'd like to invite that. Seth.
I do need to leave. I'm sorry. This has been very helpful. The question I have is there an advantage or disadvantage to adding in new survey questions in this manner that Amy's showing through the spreadsheet, as opposed to through the survey of, you know, the sumApp software itself?
It's just a lot quicker if you have a long list. If you don't have
I can see that. That's really
Yeah.
a big advantage.
Yeah, I don't know that there's another advantage. And there's still
Okay.
some settings in the survey that you have to go back into the survey setup and manually, you know, like if you want to protect it or if you want to hide it,
Right.
or those
Or you
things
want to allow people to make more than one choice. You do all that then.
in the survey interface. So it's
But
really long list.
I did fix the problem we were having. So you can now make a copy and it will do the duplicates now. I developed it in a different Google Sheet and then pasted it and forgot to carry over some supportive code. So it's all in there working now.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Sorry, I have to go. And thank you, Molly, Amy, for going through this. It's been very helpful.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Do you want to do the goodbye, Christine, and then I'll keep going?
Yeah,
Well, I don't have much more, y'all. Just a little bit more.
Okay, but let's do the goodbye and then, yeah. Okay, so so we just all unmute for our goodbye ritual, and I'll count down 3, 2, 1, and then we give each other our blessings or our well wishes for the day. And then if you're gonna stick around for however much longer, whether it's just the last little piece or for the whole half hour, you can leave whenever you need to, but just don't leave right this moment if you plan to stick around. So you want to unmute. 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for being here.
See you,
Stay well.
Molly. See you, Seth.
Good
Bye.
day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
So I am not going to finish. I just want to finish up this project I'm working on. I won't continue. We have some other questions that I could put in here, but I think y'all get the idea. You select your type of question, you put your question, and then if you've got things like we had in our countries, they go here. And so I still have a couple more steps before I can upload these into sumApp, and I got to see which button I'm supposed to push now.
The green one.
The green one, yes, thank you. Get sumApp headers. All right, so it's going to run this code that Tim has set up. It says it's running a script. It finished the script. It automatically took me to that spreadsheet that had my data in it. And as I scroll over to the right, it's now added my questions up here in the first, well, it's actually the second row. Do y'all see that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'll just say the reason, so sumApp needs the header, the column header needs to be formatted in a very specific way so that sumApp can understand what kind of question is this, what are the options, how to structure it in the survey. And that's what's being created, is the actual header so that sumApp will read it properly.
And now if I wanted to upload my data plus my clean data plus these new questions, or these questions that I want to have in
Amy,
sumApp.
will you just click in those headers for a moment so we can see the actual, because the country drop down list is all split by pipes. It's not actually a million columns. I just want to make that clear. Do you know how to make your space bigger? Like scroll down it doesn't matter. But so you can see it's got, no, I mean the cell space up above.
This one up here.
Yep, if you just put your cursor down a tiny bit to the line, you'll see that it turns, yeah, there. Now click and drag down. There we go. So that's the whole contents of that cell. Is that whole list. And and it's starting with select. And then click on the H1 too, just so we can see the difference. So it's fairly simple, but
I think this may be related to the question that Seth was asking. But anyway, because this is how I understood his question, is that did he have to do a separate process to upload the questions that he's going to ask? And essentially you create the questions, then you get the sumApp headers, and it pulls that from the questions to upload. I gotcha. But I think that was his question.
yeah. And that's a second. So what you're referring to is basically the third overall purpose of this header maker, is if you've got data in those columns, how will it read them? But yeah.
So I don't know if I finished saying this, and maybe it's obvious to you all, but now that my project, let's say that I wanted my project to have the data and the questions, I need to go through that step, obviously, of doing an export to a CSV. And now it's a CSV that also includes my questions, and I can import data, basic data and questions into sumApp. And now I'm
You can hit the
finished.
validate button too and see how it validates the emails.
Oh, because
Oh, good,
no,
because-
you can, no,
No.
sorry,
Oh,
pardon me. I thought you were
copy.
using my copy. You can't. Yeah, never mind.
No,
But
yeah.
it will work for everybody else if they go to that link and make their own copy now.
Tim, do you have any tips about loading, doing like this, the question header part? Because you do this all.
You can make the questions without any members. You can just go in. I just starting a new project. You don't have any members yet. You could just go in and make your survey, but you can't load it in the sumApp without at least adding a single person. So just put yourself in there or something. Otherwise it'll get, sumApp won't accept it if you don't have a single person in there as a member in the upload sheet. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, everybody looks like they're thinking hard, so I'm wondering what questions are floating through those hard thinking faces, minds with hard thinking faces.
I appreciate the data cleanup and configuration. And I guess I'm looking for a more practical introduction to using the tools and sharing the tools with users, and that maybe that's in some of the videos that I saw that I did find. I haven't looked at all the videos you have, but was hoping to get more selling points. So yeah, my needs are, I want to be able to sell these ideas to my community leaders to show them the power of how this could change their jobs and all the things we do to clean up and deal with drama within our community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all.
Let me just, so I just put in the chat our knowledge base, which will give you some stuff to think about. We're still collectively developing the selling points or the
Okay, I want to help with that.
Well, that would be great.
Right.
Because that's that's the first problem that people have, the first challenge. And we're still working on how to get through that together, because it's an emerging field and we're all still learning together. But
yeah,
start with the help desk and then come back to these and will help us figure out how to pitch it.
Okay, well then let me, I think the goal here, or my next steps, are to get something set up for my community and see how it actually helps or not.
Let me give you one more thing. I'm sorry, before two more things. So this is where'd my chat thing go? Here. One second. This is, oops. Right. This is a video. I'm giving you two videos that aren't in the help desk yet. One is an intro to what is social system mapping. And the other one is what we call the transformational vortex, which sort of explains our theory of transformation around social system mapping, why we think it's sort of how we think it's transformational, not so much the why, but the how. And just the graphics of this were worked on. We sort of spent almost a year thinking through what we meant and working with a graphic designer, and Jim was part of that project. And so I just want to acknowledge that this is a collective outcome, that not the words of the video, but the essential meaning of it. And so I was just sharing those as well. And I see Amy has her hand up, and you don't.
Yeah, I wanted to so there's two things I was going to add, one to Daryl's question and then one an offer to you all. And then I can't stay till 11:30. But Daryl, I haven't met you before. And so you may have been part of the webinars, but there's a webinar every Monday at 10. And so I find this one was a tech talk. This was really getting into some of the technical, like really down in the weeds. But the ones some of the others that happen on the Monday, particularly the on-ramp, which doesn't that happen the second Monday?
Yep.
Christine?
Yep.
Those are really great ones to start to glean your own sort of way to evangelize and pitch this. That's what I found. And then I was just going to offer to all of you, I had really thought we would have time to go into breakout groups and let you play with it yourself. And then we would be around to answer questions. So I just want to offer, if you have a desire to practice yourself and you just want an accompaniment partner, I will be happy to jump on Zoom with you. If you want to do it together, or if you just play around with it and you run into trouble, you can use me as your first line of defense.
That is very generous offer.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I'll pop my email in the box and then I will need to depart.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Tim, can you make the header maker public v10 accessible? I'm still getting
Let's,
access.
Wait.
Tim, is it? I think we have some
Header-
confusion about that.
Header maker, you know, if I click it, wait, I don't know, let me put this link in the chat. This is for the one we just did. It's not the one for pre-existing data. If people click on that and see if they get taken to the right page.
In the chat.
Yeah,
Click on the version. That's a different version than the.
this is one Amy was working on. This is the one that
I
works.
still need
I get-
access.
This
I
is the
get-
instructions, or
No.
what are you talking about?
The actual sheet.
The actual
Oh.
sheet.
Tim,
Is-
I'm getting, you need access, request access, not
Hmm.
the copy thing. I'm wondering if there's a setting where you can make it, give everyone who has the link the opportunity to read only and copy, but not,
Yeah, maybe.
I'll come look in a minute.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see here.
Yeah, I think it's in the share probably. The way
Yeah.
the share is set up.
You want to share your screen and we can talk you through it?
Oh, wait, hold on here. Let's see.
Bye, Amy. Thank you so much.
Bye,
This-
Amy.
Bye.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Oh, it says restricted. Yeah, hold on. Anyone with a link here, hold on. Now give it a try, see if that works.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I had it
Thank you.
restricted, sorry. Yep.
Okay, we're
I
good.
did- Yeah.
Thanks for redoing this. This is, I've had trouble with the original and I've never been able to use header maker, and now
Mm.
I'm stoked. Thank you.
Yeah, because you probably don't have Excel or because well, you're on a Mac, so it complexifies anyway, for whatever reasons. This should work.
Maybe.
This should work better for
Could be operator error all these years.
Hey, I also have one thing that I revived, which is I had made an example map of just how to do various things. And it kind of, I haven't kept it up, but I redid it and I put the
Ooh.
link in there to it. So if any,
Yes.
this maybe
Love
give you
that.
ideas on how to do things. It's just I plan on doing more, but this is it. I at least got it back to where it was and maybe improved somewhat.
Yay.
So for Daryl and Richard, who don't, maybe, I don't know how familiar you are with Kumu, what this example map does is it actually, it does, he's like the things we want to do, like cluster or size by this way, or inherit things. The example map is doing all those things, and you can go into the advanced editor and copy the code, the Kumu code, so that you can learn how to do all the things that we do in Kumu. So
And for those who actually find this stuff interesting, if you'll notice in the side panel, there are these drop downs. If you make a copy of your own, this is a public map, so you can fork it. You can go then into the side panel and figure out how to, somebody's logged in. So this was my point. If you're logged in, if you make your own copy and you want to see those drop downs,
these drop downs.
yeah. If you want to see them actually work in your own copy, you have to go to preview mode. Otherwise, you'll just open up the code in the side panel. For
Yeah.
those that.
Yeah. Okay. I
Mhm.
just went to preview mode and then I opened this up so that
Yeah.
Tim's shortcuts are now showing. But Tim,
What's preview mode?
down here, can you see my screen? Under more, this little ellipsis. Preview
Yeah.
mode is great for when you're showing a map to other people, because when you're not in preview mode, you'll get like a lot of, every field, whether it's got data in it or not, will show on the side panel, and you can accidentally do things like mess with the code or save things. But if you go into preview mode, the view, it's not an issue here because we don't have empty data, but the fields that don't have data in them won't show, so the side panel will be cleaner. And
It looks exactly like it does it when you have it in an embed. So
Yeah.
it's presentable.
Okay.
Yeah.
and not
it's-
and
But
not
you
destroyable.
can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you
Yeah.
also can't get to the markup language on the left
Right.
side.
Yeah, right. You can't do anything that you need. any editing things are not option
Mhm.
in preview mode. And Tim did he figured out how to make these little drop downs in the side panel. So that's cool. We were thrilled about that.
And Tim, all the inherited decorations are over there in the left panel?
Yep, yep, right up there, inherited view and where it's coming from.
Okay, it's inherited view. All
Yeah.
right. Wow, cool. You know, the other thing that I got from this last little thing was I don't do like if I'm getting ready to create a sheet, I don't do a Google Doc of the fields. And it seems like that's really useful.
Yeah, I find it really useful.
Because there's a lot of back and forth when I'm actually in creating the fields in sumApp, and to just get them sorted and visualized. And if you're doing that and you have a question, Amy had, is there any problem with indenting the drop-down answers so that visually when you're creating this draft doc, it's easier to see where the questions are and the data. And then when you copy the data into header maker, it'll clean it up, take the indents out.
No, that won't, I haven't made it so that it can kind of remove indents.
Okay.
You know, if you do what Amy was doing and put it in like Notepad or something, it maybe it's a little quicker for you to remove like the indents. But yeah, that's not something I've
There's
added.
other ways to make
Yeah.
it
And
visual.
I guess, and if you don't, if you're sort of like me, as it were, and you're sort of like working as a beginning stage and you don't have anything necessarily documented, it seems to me that doing some of that within the spreadsheet that you just created on the questions to upload or whatever, you can actually do that right there.
Yeah, that's the way I do it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
if
it's
I'm doing it on
that
my
way
own.
you're not duplicating per se,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like have the structure or the framework there, particularly with the type of questions and those kinds of things. You
Mhm.
know, I
Yeah.
would just create it there rather than doing something in a Word document and then having to do the copy and paste over there.
Yeah. Richard, the challenge there is if you're collaborating with 10 people and you want them to be able to give input and have comments, and like there'll be a whole bunch of chatter in a Google Doc, and that's so if you've got other people who you need to
True.
buy in,
I got that.
and
But there is a way to share a Google Sheet as well. But I got you. I
yeah,
understand.
yeah, people don't deal with sheets very well. Well as they deal with, but
Yeah.
Well,
Reiterate the
yes,
Google Doc for
true.
collaboration.
I mean, actually, I found it difficult to get people to collaborate in a Google Doc also.
yeah.
So,
But so Jim, whatever you've done in a Google Doc, whatever you can color it, you can have comments, you can have indents, you can have it however you want, because when you take the whole thing and put it into Notepad, the whole point of Notepad is Notepad doesn't use any formatting, and it's just going to strip all the formatting out. And so you don't really have to, you can just, your Google Doc can be as complex visually as you want it, as long as everything's in the right order, all the words are in the right order. And then that's the reason you use Notepad, clean it up. And then you're going to pull just pure text into the spreadsheet, into the right columns. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm also just, Sonia said that TextEdit is the equivalent in Mac, and I'm looking, where the heck do you get TextEdit? It pops up for me when I'm doing things. But
If you go to your Finder and click on Applications, it's listed there.
okay.
And
Thanks.
Sonia, I know you've got, we've been working on a project, and we have multiple versions of messy Google Docs with input and comments. And I know we didn't get to, that project has a little bit of loading pre-existing data that I know I want to do to have the capacity to do, and we didn't get to that yet. But for the moment,
Oh God. Sorry.
how's it going down?
Nope, just my husband cooking.
You hope.
So I just wanted to see if you
I
had,
identify with that.
Sonia, did you have any questions or anything right now that feels like would be helpful for you in thinking about our next step in launching?
So just to be clear, are you saying that, so then my next step is to import the recommended, the new folks into the back end of sumApp through our spreadsheet.
Yep.
But so I'm a little confused about what pre-existing data mean. Like, I'm a little confused about, so I can still, even though there's people in there, I can still use this to get this new list of people in there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And we're going to talk tomorrow with Christy. And so we're going to be thinking a little bit more about this process. And I wanted you to be part of this so you could get at least because my experience is if you don't do this all the time, or if you're
Yeah.
not a chronic data geek, this stuff doesn't land the first time and it needs to kind of get repeated and it needs to kind of wash through your brain over and over. So I wanted to get that started. So you at least had some questions answered, and when you go to bed tonight, more new ones will percolate, and then we can talk about it. Rather than
Yeah, and I mean, it was
So-
very straightforward. The SOP or the instruction sheet you guys made is really helpful. Really.
Well,
So
Very
let me
short
ask this, but oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Richard.
Whoa. I have a request that we
Yeah.
let people finish and that we close a loop before we start a new loop.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, I want to just close the Sonia loop, and then I'd love to pay 100% and 110% attention to your new loop.
Open the Richard loop.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. You were
So,
saying-
so I'm just curious. So, like, this would not be helpful for us where we are at questions at this point, because if you're adding one or two questions, like, it's probably not that. Like, if we were doing it from the beginning, the questions. But it seems like valuable at this point, though, for importing new people onto the map. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But here's an exception. We have that, like if we've got a list of say 20 items and then we reorder them and add 5 more, it might be easier
Gotcha.
to do that. And you
Yeah.
can do it with just one column. You don't have to include the whole survey and all the data in the survey. You can just say, I'm just going to load, the functional columns in this one new column that I structure differently. And there's ifs, ands, or buts around that. But I just want to say that sometimes is it.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
still so we still could hypothetically, although we'd have Tim do that since you're a client. But
Awesome. Yay.
I want you to be able to understand what's going on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
The Richard loop. Open it up.
All right.
Ready for Richard. Thank you.
So what is this button, get sumApp headers? So if you've got an existing sumApp map, you can get the headers from that map. Is that what that is about?
No,
No.
the green button.
Yes.
Yeah, that's after like when she put those 3 questions in there with the get sumApp headers is like you're getting the headers to upload into sumApp.
Mhm.
Out of that
What-
table that you put them in, that you put your text
So
in.
then if, like Sonia, I've got an existing sumApp map and I want to add people to it, or even add questions to it, I could use this process to add the new people and or the new questions, and those questions then flow forward to, or backward as it were, to the people that I've already got in the sumApp map.
So it will go into each person's sumApp instance. So if you've got a link to our project, I think you have a link to our map. I think you're in our map now.
Yes.
So if you go back to that link, once we've done this upload thing, those questions will be in your survey. immediately.
Okay.
Yeah. And so thanks, Daryl. Take care. We'll hopefully see you again. Bye. Yeah, so this is part of it makes the iteration process. If you want to keep adding new, like if you discover you need to add new questions and or you discover that you need to reword them, this is one way of working with that and making it easier.
Loop closed.
Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. It was great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Bye.